And if you're the novice investor or just a beginning investor, don't know where to start, Warren Buffett is a good place to start. He has been around since, I guess, since dirt was invented. He seems like he's been uh, known for his stock picking acumen for decades and decades now. Anyway, this is where he advises his wife to invest her money once he passes away. And I will give you the little secret that he leaves out at the end of the conversation so you know the full picture.
Berkshire is a very good thing to hold, but for a given individual, particularly my wife, I just think that having a tiny fraction, which is all it takes for her to do very well for the rest of her life, I think that the best thing to do is buy 90% in an S&P 500 index fund. I think
So he advises his wife or the trustees who are handling his wife's money to invest 90% of the proceeds into the S&P 500 index. But he didn't say where the other 10% goes. Now that other 10% is going into short-term treasury bills, which are easily redeemed for money in case she needs it. And what this 10% does, it allows her a cushion so that if the S&P 500 is in a downturn, she's not forced to liquidate stocks to have enough money to live on. So this 10%, her total wealth in treasury, will be the money she spends for her day-to-day. I have always set the goal to have at least 1 year's worth of income set aside that is easily accessible and liquidatable. Liquidatable, yeah. Translate that into everyday terms, meaning I can have access to the money very quickly. I would like to have it accessible within 1 to 2 days at the at the longest, just in case something goes wrong. Car breaks down, get into a wreck, and the other person doesn't have insurance coverage. I don't have full coverage on my vehicle, so I'm responsible for whatever happens to that. Emergency because hurricane or tornado, flood, something happens, and you need cash for a month or two. You need it right now. You need to bug out. Anyway, it's taken me a long time to get to that point, but I do have it now. But in my 20s and 30s, I definitely didn't have it. In my 40s, I probably had 6 months worth of savings set aside, in addition to putting everything I possibly could into the S&P 500 index in my 401k plan. And I think that's a really good goal to shoot for. There is a tremendous amount of stress relief and tension in your life between yourself and your significant other if you're not worried about paying the bills, you're not worried about somebody spending $5, you're not worried about your wife drinks a $5 coffee every day, and if those little expenses make that big of a difference in your life, I I'm urging you start saving up a little bit. Start putting away a little bit of money every month. It may not sound like much now, but a year or two of constantly setting aside cash, it's a nice feeling to know that your rent's covered, your car bills are covered, your electricity's covered, everything's covered in case something else interrupts your life, so that you're spending your money on that rather than paying the bills. If I have lived week to week, paycheck to paycheck, and it's not a good feeling. That's all for now, and I'll talk to you later.